Welcome to JOBSHARE Podcast, the place for sharing everything we know about careers for the next generation. If you are an employer looking to grow your business through new talent, or a young person looking for honest advice on getting and succeeding in a job, then we're here for you. So let's get to it. I'm Charlie Black, and I'm joined here today by my most fabulous co-hosts, Katia Douglas and Natalie Parry. Today we're discussing all things job adverts. What should employers be thinking about when they're trying to attract new talent into their business? And what should young people be looking for in adverts to make the right choices? So one of the things that we've talked about in preparation for the podcast today is kind of what is the main purpose of a job advert, and we're focusing at this point on employers and how they should be really thinking about the job advert that they're writing in order to attract the right candidate into their business. Yeah. Now, when employers are recruiting young people, they're typically looking at school leavers, so people who haven't had real work experience. And if they have, it's very kind of like 2 weeks, that 2-week placement that everybody has in something they might be vaguely interested in if they're really lucky and really fortunate. But typically it's, these young people, they don't have the work experience. So I feel that employers put a lot of emphasis on academic achievement, and they quite often, when we're working with employers, are saying, I want 5 GCSEs. Or want them to have a good grade in maths or English or whatever it might be. But obviously the pandemic has had a significant impact on examinations and on school in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now we're in a situation where young people aren't doing their exams. And does that mean that we're not going to be in a situation where employers can use examination results to vet their candidates? So now that exams aren't a thing, Natalie, how do you think employers can attract the best talent?
I think it's going to be more down to looking at personalities, matching personalities into the job that they already have there, the people they already have there in that department. And I think it's going to be down to young people being able to show their personalities a bit more. I think sometimes from kind of my experience, too many young people are sort of pushed aside because they didn't get those achievements in their exams. And I think there's a lot of really good candidates out there who aren't getting looked at, who could do really well in the job roles that are available, because they will go, oh, well, this person's got, the 5 A to C's that we're looking for, so they must be the right fit, which isn't always the case. Sometimes it is, but that doesn't mean that those that didn't achieve those grades aren't going to work. So I think personally it's going to open up the job market to a lot more young people. I think if they're still going to be coming out with A to C's or 1 to 9 as it is now, obviously a bit different now, how are they going to assess that? How are they going to make that fair to everyone? So I think what most people will do is go, actually, should we be more looking at the person, what they've done, extracurriculum stuff, what they've done while they've been at school, how they've sort of reacted with different teams, groups, that sort of thing.
And using personal and life experiences as well. I think sometimes more often than not, employers don't ask the right questions sometimes to get those extra things out of young people. I know from my own experience, I had somebody I interviewed as an apprentice, and they were straight out of school. It was for a telesales role, and he used an example of something they'd done for an award that he was trying to achieve, where they had to ring pubs in the area. Now, that wasn't telesales related, but it showed that he was quite diverse, and at 15 years old, he was confident enough to pick up the phone and speak to local pubs. And for me, that showed me that he probably could do the job, but I don't think if I'd asked the right question, I would have been able to draw that information out of him. And I think it's looking at things like that as well as what they've achieved academically, rather than just looking at the academics alone.
Too much emphasis is put around exams for young people. There's so much pressure put them under, and that educational environment isn't suited to everybody.
No, some people don't thrive under
No.
in exams, that they just don't do well, but academically they are very, very capable and they are very bright. It's just in that setting they just don't do very well, and sometimes they don't come out with the grades that really mirror what they've done at school, and it's just a shame that they're sort of discarded just because they haven't hit those milestones that some employers think are important, because it's not. I think it's good to have a good level of maths and English, but that's not the most important thing. It's about what you teach that person and bring out of them.
Yeah.
Do you think that when forming a job advert, the employers really need to think about the questions that they're asking, or the language that they're using?
Yeah.
And
because people can be put off if they don't
Yeah.
understand something, or they see something that they don't know what that is, they won't apply. And sometimes
Yeah.
it could be something very simple if it is broken down in layman terms in a way that they can understand. So I think it's about being really cautious and making sure that the information in there is understandable to the audience you're trying to target, basically.
Yeah, I think it's about, for the employers, thinking about why they're asking, or why they would previously ask for those qualifications or those particular grades. So if they want a really good level of maths, perhaps they are, a bookkeeping firm or an accountancy, and they want somebody who's naturally very good at maths, so they were expecting, I need an A grade in maths and I will not accept anything less.
Yeah.
Now especially because of the situation with examinations, but maybe even before that, they should have been thinking about this. Why do you want that? Well, okay, that's because you need them to be good at math. So why not just say, we're looking for somebody who has a good head for numbers. But again, I know lots of people, and I'm not just talking about young people, I know adults as well, that are just like walking calculators.
Yeah,
I've met a few of those in my life.
Yeah, and you're just like in awe. But they don't have a GCSE.
No. I think it's more about seeing the possibilities in the young person. When you're interviewing that person, it's not what can you do right now, what are you going to be able to do, where's this going to lead to. It's more about those possibilities, because they're not going to be the fixed product. It's about the time you invest in them to get them to where you want them to be, and it's looking at that person, saying, are they going to be able to get there? And if they are, then you should give them a chance.
Yeah.
So maybe looking, instead of when they're writing that advert, employers thinking more wider than the academics, and thinking about what are the behaviors that you want someone to be able to demonstrate, thinking already, actually, what am I going to ask this person at interview? And I need to lay that out in the job description so that they're clear from the offset that this is the sort of person I want, because time is precious for everyone. And what do we think about in the job advert, how they describe the job itself? What do you think is important?
I think it's important for them to know where it's leading to, because obviously most jobs for young people, if it's going to be an apprenticeship or a trainee role, it's going to be very much at the starting point and learning things from scratch. But I think it's about where that job's going to lead to as well, the progression opportunities, the training, what they're going to get out of it. Because I think for that young person, they want to know if it's going to be a career for them, and if it's worth them investing their time, or if it is just going to be a short-term opportunity. I think it's about being honest too, and them knowing exactly what they're going to get from you and how long that's going to last for.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. I think when you're looking at an advert, when you're trying to attract someone to you, you want to entice them in, and you're looking to talk about all the benefits. And if you know that this is kind of a long-term plan for you as an employer, and you're looking to bring in new talent because you've got this big succession plan, then you need to write that down, and you need to tell people that that's what you want to do, because the last thing you want to do is attract people that aren't in it for the long haul anyway. You want people that want to stick with you long term.
I was just going to add on to that. I think the young people now are much more savvy to that than they ever were. From kind of my experience with speaking with them, they want to know what it's going to look like at the end of the year, what's going to look like in 3 years' time. So much more than I think they were a few years ago, that same age group. But now it is long-term plans, and it is about, what can the role offer me? Okay, I might be doing the more basic stuff, but how long will that be for? Will there be another option for me to grow later on. So I think definitely this sort of generation that are coming through now of young people are very much about their long-term goals.
Yeah, and I think the job should be what it says on the tin. Like if for young people, when they're looking at a job advert, you can't really be using jargon in there and acronyms and things like that. They don't know what those are. They've not been applying for jobs. This could be their first time applying for a job. So if you are trying to attract that sort of audience, I think it's really important that the language is right and that it does what it says on the tin, basically, because young people will be put off by that one word that they don't understand. And I think this generation are less inclined than any other to ask a question if they don't know. They'll just move on.
Yeah, they'll look at whether they feel that they're more suited to, because they understood the full job description, where as actually those, you know, that particular system that you use that's unique to your business doesn't mean that they won't be able to do the job because they don't know how to use it, because it, you know, they're very tech savvy. They're very good, the young people, on picking up things like that. So don't put them off with those things that are specific to your business.
Yeah. I saw a post on LinkedIn today, actually, that I think is really relevant. And the post itself was just a bit of advice for employers, saying, you know, when you're advertising for a job, you should include a paragraph about what your company values are. What your, you know, what's your mission, what's your purpose, what are your company values, because you want to attract candidates with shared values. And I think now is more important, especially with young talent, is more important than ever. This generation, this you know, Generation Z, Zoomers, as we now know and love them, they are so brand aware, and they are so politically aware, and they're so aware of who they are, more so than I was.
Absolutely.
16, 17, 18, you know, they know exactly who they are, what they believe in, 100%. And they want to join somewhere that has the same values as them. So I think that's a really good tip for employers. One of the things that I have seen recently, I wasn't too sure about, so I really want to know what your opinion is on it, was some software that automates the job advert writing process. So recruiters or employers, they go through, it's almost like, you know, it's got drop down menus, and you can put in there, you know, what level of job you're looking for, any particular traits or qualifications, and then the software then spits out 4 versions of the job description, and you go, okay, that one. What do you think about that, Kat? Do you think that automated job adverts are a good thing?
I think you might save time in posting the initial advert, but how much time is it actually going to save you in the recruitment process? Because are you really going to be attracting the right people? I mean, if you've got a computer spitting out a job advert based on the words that you've put in there, you haven't really got any personality behind it. You're not selling your company, and it's just going to look like every other job advert out there. You want to stand out, and you want to give people, you want people to apply for the job because they want to work for your company and because they can do the job. And I don't think you can really get that across when you're putting it into a system that just spits out a job advert. I mean, for the Google Analytics side of it and the SEO, yeah, great, but how much time is that actually going to save you in the long run when you're actually going through those applications? You might not get any applications because your job advert just looks like all of the rest. So it takes away the human element.
You're just going to attract you might attract more candidates, but are they going to be the right candidates? How long is that going to take you to sift through all of those CVs, all of those applications? It's far better just putting your time into making your advert match what you're looking for.
It's like what you said before, Charlotte, what you put in is what you get out. And if you're just going to automate a job adverts all day long, you're probably not going to get the best quality candidates applying, or not the right people.
You know, at the end of the day, I think we all feel quite strongly about this, and I think most people do, that the people you work with are so important, and therefore you're looking for that human element all the way along. You're looking to attract people into your business that you would enjoy working with and would bring something to the business and share your values. And likewise for the candidate as well, they want to come somewhere that they can really kind of feel at home.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think you can, even going for a job interview, you know straight away whether or not you want to work somewhere, just based on that first initial sort of 10 minutes. You get a feel for it, and you've already decided if they give you the job whether or not you want to take it. So you want to get them to that point. If you can't even get them to an interview, then what's the point? It's just time wasted. So I think it's about weighing up the pros and the cons. And yeah, you might save loads of time getting all of your adverts out there, and yeah, lots of people might be applying, but it's not necessarily going to be the right people. So in the long run, is it actually going to save you time? Probably not.
I was just going to say, if you can't put the time into the advert, which is to attract the right person, then have you got time to interview that person, train that person, bring them into the development that's needed within the business? Realistically, writing an advert is going to take you probably an hour, maybe, thinking about the job, what it's going to involve, who it's going to involve, what sort of personality that you're looking for. Maybe an hour to write that up. I think if you've not got an hour to write a job description, you're gonna struggle with the other things afterwards.
None of us, to my knowledge, have used any of this automated advert software. So, if there is anybody listening that would like to give us a free trial, we're fully on board with trying that for you and writing you an honest review afterwards.
Absolutely.
Here are a few of our top tips for employers who are looking to recruit young people and new talent into their business, and what they should be thinking about when they are writing job adverts.
Yes, so grabbing attention. I think the more energy that you have in the advert, the more of your personality that you can put into that advert, the more that people are going to look at it. I think it's about it being short and snappy. We don't want loads of information which isn't kind of relevant at that stage. But you do want information which is going to make somebody go, oh, they sound like a great company. They stand out for that reason. So short, snappy, but interesting. Not the same old that you've read, 100 times before when you're looking on job adverts. I think giving yourself the best chance to find the right candidate is about standing out. So, particular words that you might use, which are a little bit different in a job description or in a job advert. A strap line at the top, which they're the things that show up when you search for jobs on Google. You get the first line, don't you? So I think that line's really important for attracting the right person, and that line can be anything, depending on the job itself. But I just think it needs to match the job so that you match the right candidate. And the company, its values and its mission, I suppose, as well. I think you can tell a lot. You can read a job description and think they sound really fun as a company. You
want to make them smile when they read it and actually be able to imagine themselves potentially working there. You don't want it to be a flat advert that looks the same as everybody else's. It needs to stand out. I mean, there's some job adverts I've seen that have been absolutely fantastic that I've even thought, like, who wrote that? Because that is so
where
funny.
do I find this?
Because some people are really good at it. I think especially if it's quite like a unique job that's quite jazzy, it needs to have that extra bit of personality behind it, because you want them to get excited about the job and you want the right person to apply for it. And I think it needs to be search friendly as well. Like, you need to make sure that they're actually going to be able to find it. Don't give it like a really technical name, because if it's admin, make it admin. If it's sales, make it sales. I mean, obviously to a certain degree you want to make it sound exciting, but young people won't know very technical job terms. It's going to be the bare basics. So you want to make sure that they can actually find them if that's the audience that you're trying to attract.
Absolutely.
I think that is really important. And also think about words that are associated with the job so that they can find them as well that way. But I think it needs to be simple, like Natalie said, to the point, snappy, fun, and I think it needs to be funny. Young people have got good personalities. They live their lives on social media, GIFs, memes, and all that sort of stuff. So I do think that it's important to try and get an element of fun and something funny in there. It makes all the difference, especially if that's what the job's about. I think that is going to definitely attract the right sort of person.
Yeah, I agree. It's using language that reflects who you are. If you're fun, if you're funky, then use fun and funky language. If you
Yeah.
are very professional, then that needs to show in the job description too.
Yeah, because I think that goes back as well. You don't want the job to sound too fun and then the start, and actually that's not what the environment's like, because then you're like
where is
really
my ping pong
misselling the
table?
job. Yeah, where's the tennis court?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
No, definitely.
I totally agree.
I think you're totally right. Brief, clear, to the point. Candidates, especially now with what the job market looks like, it is absolutely an employer controlled job market at the moment, and there are lots of candidates out there, and you need to be clear and to the point. You need to be, as an employer, for you're thinking, 40 million people applying for my one job is going to be really hard for me to manage, so I need to be clear and to the point and very precise about what I want. But also in terms of candidates, they're seeing hundreds, millions of jobs. They're spending all their days going through job boards and looking for jobs to apply for. Yours needs to stand out. Yours needs to make sense to them, and it needs to grab their attention very quickly, because they will scroll on, my friend. Absolutely, very quickly. They will. Yeah, they will.
Yeah. Very.
And I think as well, they won't put all the effort into applying on that job. I know some jobs are just click here and apply, and you don't add anything else to it. But for those that want a bit more in their job, on their job application, you're going to put more effort into a job that you really, really want than a job that you just would do or would.
Yes.
Obviously, we're in that sort of market. There's a lot of candidates applying for lots of jobs, but you're going to put more effort into one that you think, that company sounds amazing. That sounds fab. I want to do that.
The applications as well. I think if you've got a very short job description and there's not much to the job, you can't expect the quality of their application to be very good. You can't expect a long cover letter saying I'm going to do this and this and that for you when you've got 5 bullet points. And then more often than not, people will disregard candidates because it's like, oh, well, have you seen their application? They haven't put much effort in. But it's like, your job doesn't really tell, the job description doesn't really give them much to go on. So I think you need to look at your advert to see why you're not getting the good quality applications. It could be because your advert actually isn't very good and they're not getting enough from it. So they're just applying with as generic as much information as they can, because they can't really elaborate on anything because you haven't given them the information to be able to sell themselves.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good tip as well, is to not be afraid to change things in your job description. We've had this recently.
I've done it recently.
Where you've gone, actually, nobody's applying for this job, or the right people are not applying for this job. Let's reevaluate it. Let's go back. Let's make it live for a week and then come back.
And I
go,
didn't change a bit. It was the whole thing. I changed the whole thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do need to do that. Yeah. And it was a new job. It was a learning curve, but it looks much better now and more people are applying. So it's worked. It definitely has worked. Absolutely. And I think it's about that as well. Looking at what you're putting out there, and if it's not very good, change it. Because again, time is money. Already.
Absolutely. And don't wait for that application to close. Think, hang on a minute. I've had 2 applications this week and I expected 40. So I obviously need to revisit this job advert and do it quick. Don't waste time with that. So.
I think that would be probably my next tip, wouldn't it? What does the candidate want to know? What does they need to know from their job? Does it accurately describe the job itself, or is it just very general? It doesn't really talk about any specifics in the role. So I think it's thinking about that, isn't it? If I was a candidate, what would I want to know about that job? Because that needs to be in there. It needs to say, if they're looking for things like people with lots of experience, are you looking for somebody with 5 years experience in sales? It needs to say that, because otherwise you're going to have lots of people applying that maybe don't meet that criteria of what you're looking for. So it's a waste of your time and theirs. So I think it's about adding those specifics in if they're important to you. But I do think it's worth considering how important all of those things are, not just going with, well, I need somebody that's experienced in this particular area. Why do you need that experience? It's back to that same thing again.
And I think it's about looking at the generation you're targeting as well. I think going back to what you were saying before, Charlotte, obviously Gen Z, what do they actually want? Yeah. And they want something that looks good, that tells them what they're going to get and where they're going to go.
They absolutely. They want progression. They want a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. Then they're not messing. They've got very real ambitions and goals, and they want to know that if they're going to apply for this job, that's gonna come about, and it's worth investing their time in.
Yeah.
I think the job market's changed so much now, especially with young people. It's like, well, why should I work for you?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's sort of,
it's
it has
definitely
shifted
turned
the
on
other way.
Yeah, it has.
It
I
has.
completely agree.
Because I've even had an experience myself where I've interviewed somebody who I felt like I was being interviewed. Like, it was all like, why should I give them the job? Why are we good enough as a company? And by the end, I was like, God, I feel really stressed out. I mean, I took him on and I recruited him, but like that in itself, I think it made him stand out and show that, like, I think sometimes you just assume like you should be lucky to work here, and it's not like that. Sometimes employers are really lucky to have the people that they have, and the people that come on board. So yeah, I think Gen Zs are definitely all about what they can get and where it's going to, and I think it needs to all be there very clear. We're all different as people, generational or not. So but I do think you're right. It's important to look at the sort of person you're trying to recruit, and yes, there will be differences, but
it's cheesy as, but let's be down with the kids. Let's talk to them. Let's not ignore them. They're important. And
you're going to get the best out of them if you do that.
Absolutely.
That's the only way to go. And if you want to get the best out of them, you need to get on their level. It's as simple as that.
It's not realistic to expect them to elevate themselves to your level when they haven't got that level of experience and understanding and emotional intelligence and all those lovely things that you gain after years and years of experience of working with other people. So
exactly.
I think if you respect that difference as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think don't see it as, you know, you doing it wrong or you know, taking a step backwards by asking for that help. Because I think it's important. I think some hiring managers think, well, I've done it this way for X amount of years. It's always worked for me. But that's just not the right way to look at it. You know, you always look at growing and changing things, because do you want your business to stay the same forever? I don't think anyone does, do they? People want their business to grow and to evolve and change. They're doing, you know, like the saying goes, isn't it? You do everything the same, everything will stay the same. But do you want to make it bigger? Do you want to grow and evolve with it? So I think it's persuading hiring managers sometimes to sit back and go, okay, but let's think about this from, you know, the demographic that you're looking at. Would that be attractive to them? And really just making them think about a certain person or something like that.
Something we've done recently, don't think you have yet, Natty, but Cassie and I have definitely done one recently where we've done a video job advert.
Yeah.
So we completely dispensed with writing a, you know, like standard job advert as lovely as we would make it. It was really important that we were embracing and talking about actually people are really important, and we want to attract people that we want to work with, but also that want to work with us and really understand us and save us all that time and heartache and that goes with making a bad hire. And I think that starts the job advert point. So we both did video adverts for different things that we were advertising. And I think that worked I was really happy with how the response to that and how that panned out. And I did ask applicants throughout the process how they found that. And the comments I got back was, I applied for the job because of your video. I applied for the job because I got a real feel for who you were as a manager, or got a real feel for who the company was. And that, I think, it is fabulous. And we're seeing a lot more video interviews. Is it only logical and right that we progress on to, actually, hang on a minute, we should be doing video adverts?
I think it completely changes the whole application process in terms of from the candidate's point of view, because I think when they read a job description, yes, you can put as much as you want in there to get as much as of the company's personality and what you're about, but at the end of the day, it's you that they're going to be working for, and they still don't know who the person is behind that advert. But when they can see your face and how you are, and then they go, oh, I can imagine working for her, or she seems really nice, or he seems really nice, and I think it just adds that extra edge. And because everything is online and remote at the moment, I think that it's the way forward, really, if you are looking to recruit people. and it gives them a chance to, they probably won't feel as nervous as coming to an initial interview when they meet you for the first time.
100%.
So yeah, I think it's definitely got more pros than cons. I can't think of any cons, if I'm honest. But I think from the candidate's point of view and our point of view, it gives you a chance to see them without having to meet them and feel awkward, and vice versa.
So I think it's absolutely okay
Yeah.
to do a video that's just images, maybe a voiceover, maybe not. I mean, what is it? 90% of social media videos are viewed with the sound off and they're just reading the captions. So, and I'm like, nobody quote me on that statistic. I'm pretty sure that wasn't
I'm
quite
sure
spot
I
on.
said the same thing to somebody the other day. Like 8 out of 10 people don't.
Roughly about 90% of videos on social media are viewed with the sound off. I will check that.
I think especially if there's subtitles, most people don't tend to. Because if you can read what they're saying, you don't need to click on the video.
9 times out of 10, you're watching it like when you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So let's face it, you're watching it without the sound on, and that's cool. So you know, it doesn't have to be a talking head, and I get it.
No.
We are extroverted people, so we're quite happy to get out there, like we are now. To be on camera and share that. And I know there's some people who aren't.
I suppose it depends on the job as well.
Yeah.
Like for some jobs, you wouldn't really need a video interview. You probably would need to meet the person face to face. But there's some jobs where you want to see the person's personality first, because that's what the job's mainly about. Like, especially like sales jobs and things like that. People who are extroverts will really sell themselves on a camera and take that opportunity, maybe sometimes to the detriment of themselves. But more often than not, I think you get a good feel for what somebody's about.
In this section, we're going to talk about job adverts from the perspective of the candidate. What are the main things that young people should be thinking about when they're looking at job adverts?
So I think one of the first things that they should be looking at is how long the job's actually been on. A lot of job sites, when you go on and you put all of the specifications in, you should be looking at the latest advert first, because if you're applying for a job that's been on there for longer than a week, really, you're going to be fighting for the job against a lot of other applications. So it's going for the newest adverts first. Yeah,
I completely agree. And I also think if that job advert's been on for a long time, has someone forgotten to take that down? You know, absolutely. Are they not seriously looking? And so I suppose it's a message for employers as well as young people looking at it. How long has that advert been live, and are you paying the due attention to it, really? So I think that's really
and maybe before applying, if it has been on for a while, maybe contact them first to see if the job's still available before you go through the whole process of submitting your application, because it might just be time wasted.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I think that's a really important point that we haven't prepared for, haven't discussed. I'm really sorry about that, so I'm going to throw it out there to you. But when you're applying to a job advert, I think, you know, employers are asking for a lot these days. Generally speaking, they're asking, you know, they might be asking for a video, or they might be asking for a cover letter. You know, please log on to this portal and fill out this 50 million questions before I'm even prepared to consider your application. So there's a lot of investment that goes into that. So when you're from a candidate perspective, I suppose what you're thinking about is, okay, this is another job advert that's going to take me an hour, 2 hours to complete to a good standard. But actually, that's probably time well invested than the ones that you can quick apply for.
Definitely.
How do you feel about that? If that quick apply function that's available on lots of job portals, which is really handy if you've got your preloaded CV in there, is that the right way to go as a candidate? Is that going to make you stand out? What do you think, Nat?
No, I think it's if you've got an opportunity to add a bit more into the advert about you or about why you fit to the role. Whenever I've seen kind of the click apply, it has literally been, you can upload a cover letter and you can upload a CV. And cover letters are great, and you can get yourself across in that, and you can amend those. So I suppose what I would say to candidates is, if you're a click apply, if there's a click apply job, change that cover letter on every single one you do. So that cover letter needs to be specific to that role. It needs to be linking your strengths to the role. So kind of what you would put in a full application. But I would think there's going to be a lot of applications on this. So, are they really going to take the time to go through mine in great detail? If they're going to have, we've all had it before with click to applies, hundreds of applications, hundreds. Yeah. It does take it away. So I think adding something more makes me think they're going to spend a bit more time reviewing over the applications.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Definitely. I think click apply is great from a convenience point of view, but what opportunity as a candidate if you really got to put across exactly who you are? And I know everybody says it, and from a candidate you're thinking, oh my God, that takes so much time. But you should be tailoring your application. Your response to a job advert, you should be tailoring to every job that you apply for.
Absolutely.
And if
you're not, again, what you put in, you get out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not prepared to put that effort into applying for it, do you really want it? Like, be honest with yourself and have that discussion. B, do you actually expect them to invest the time and money in you if you're not going to invest time in writing a meaningful job response to that advert?
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
We've all had it. We've all had it where you get applications for your job and it'll say, I really want to be a bathroom fitter, and you think, oh well, you're applying for a business admin job. That's not the same.
Not the same. No. Or when they get your name wrong. That's beautiful. If you've got a name, if it tells you who it is that response to the job advert's going to, use that person's name.
Yeah.
And especially don't get it wrong.
No.
I cannot tell you how many times people apply for jobs and say, hi Claire. That's not my name.
Katie. I always get called Katie.
You get Katie a lot,
constantly. And I think it makes all, because it's first impressions, isn't it, as well? And if you can't even get that name right, then it's already a cross next to your name, isn't it?
So candidates, please take the time to really think about how you are responding to that job advert, and use the information that's given to you. Respond if they are asking for particular behaviours, particular traits. Be sensible and really take the time to assess yourself and say, can I reasonably demonstrate these traits? Are they actually me, or am I just chancing it here? And is this job really for me? And use the information they're giving you. So if they're sharing their values with you, then talk about those values. And assess them. Say, actually, do I share those values? Is that important to me? Because if it's not, then it's probably not the company for you.
No.
And I think,
in all honesty,
going back to what Nat was saying before about making sure that you've got a different cover letter for every job that you apply for, I think the same applies for your CV as well. There might be slight adjustments you need to make depending on the job you're applying for. Because I've had that before, where somebody's sent their CV through, applied for a sales job, and their aspirations have been to be an accountant, and that's been all over their CV. And it's like, sales job. So I think your CV needs to match the cover letter as well, and making sure that you highlight the key points in there that make you good for that job.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do we think about salary? Salary is important when you're assessing whether you want to apply for a job?
I think because there's a conversation to be had around, should salary be on there, isn't there? I've seen a lot more jobs recently which don't have salary mentioned at all. What I would say to candidates is, don't not apply for them because you don't know what salary is, because that generally, whenever anyone's looking at recruitment for a job, the first thing that the hiring managers do is assess the competition. How much are they paying for the same role? What sort of duties are included in their roles? So really, they're all paying about the same, let's be honest. So I think not applying for a job just because it doesn't have a salary is daft, really. You know, you're missing out on so many opportunities by doing that. But I think as well, applying for a job because it doesn't quite meet your salary expectations, again, is quite dangerous, I think, because it's something that you can possibly negotiate when, you know, you're in that position. But also you need to think about what that company offers on top of the salary. So, you know, is there opportunity for you to earn things through bonuses and things, which are a really good scheme, far better than you could ever have thought, so which outweigh the salary side. But it could also be benefits the company offer. So do they offer a really good pension with, you know, with their job? You know, do they offer really good access to things like gyms and things like that, which you pay for separately? You know, all those kind of things that you might not know about at that initial stage, but that doesn't mean that, you know, that the salary's not going to be meeting what you need when you actually add all those things up together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as you get older and more you gain, well, no, that's not fair. Let's not say as you get older, as you become more experienced in the world of work, you learn what's more important to you. But you don't.
We've spoke about this a lot, haven't we, Charlotte?
Yes, we have.
Whether or not, like, is it important having lots of money, or is it just important to love the job that you have and the people that you work with? And I think sometimes the people you work with and loving the job outweighs the money.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think as you get older, you talk about the package in its entirety, not your basic salary. You know, you start thinking about what's the opportunity to earn more money on my base. So typically in sales roles, some customer service roles as well, you're talking about your base rate plus any commissions or bonuses. What discounts do you get? Lots of companies offer discounts and have affiliations or memberships or partners where they've got discount gym memberships, or I was going to say cinema, but that's not really a thing right now, so that doesn't really help. And as you get, you know, as you do get older, you worry a bit more about things like private health care and all that. You know, you care about that, and travel expenses, things like perk box. The perk box
extra holidays as well.
Extra holidays, absolutely flexi time, all those things create a package and a job offer. So just looking at salary, like you're saying, Nat, is quite short-sighted, I think. And I think candidates really kind of need to open themselves up to what else is there. That might attract me to that job, and really kind of interrogate that job, that I keep saying job description, but I mean job advert. Really interrogate that job advert to say, you know, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it? And quite often, if somebody was going to pay you another $5,000 a year, but they were the most awful company with the most awful values and didn't care about anybody who worked there, I promise you now, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. No,
definitely
not.
It's really not.
No. And I think sometimes that does come with experience. You've got to learn, haven't you? I think we've all had our fingers burned a few times working in a few jobs that have been a bit dodgy, and you do learn from those mistakes and realise what is important. And sometimes those things like extra holidays, bonus, company days out, what does the value of that add up to in money? Is that actually equating to the extra money you're asking for? You're already getting it without even realising. And I think it's about asking those questions as well, because some companies aren't forthcoming. They don't realise that that's important to people, that this is what you're going to get, this is what we do. I mean, we shout about the stuff we do because we love it, but not all companies do that. So I think it's important to shout about those things to really sell the jobs, so that people are like, oh God, well, even though I'm not getting what I'm asking for, all of this sounds great and I really want to work here.
So I think it's really important to establish what's important to you. What are your non-negotiables when you're looking for a new job and you're searching through those adverts? What do you really want to see in that? What are you prepared to negotiate on? If you're not prepared to negotiate on salary, okay, each to their own. That's fine. But you need to work out. You know, I think it's really important that you work out exactly who you are. That's quite challenging, I suppose, when you're a young person, but you do need to work out what your non-negotiables are that you're not prepared to forfeit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And make
But I
those
think you need to be quite realistic with those as well, especially being a young person who's not coming with all of that experience. So make sure you're not asking for like trips to Disneyland every year and
£1 million bonuses and
unless you're hitting those targets, then yeah.
I mean, do you know what? If you are hitting those targets, power to you, rock it.
Yeah.
You can command whatever bloody salary you want. You go for it.
Absolutely.
But generally speaking, work out what's important to you. Is it important that you're based in a city centre? Is it important that you're working from home? And is it important that there is a gym membership included for you, because that's something that you do all the time and is really important to you? And search for those keywords. Hit your SEO. What a wonderful thing. We can find anything we want. And that's important with job adverts as well. So as a candidate, make those decisions and stick to it. Even though we recommend that employers don't use jargon and acronyms in their job adverts because it does confuse people, and at the end of the day, not everybody knows your company lingo and language.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we can't change the world with this one podcast, and we're not going to be able to enforce that all employers don't use jargon. So I think it's this is a really good time for us to do some explanations of kind of common job advert acronyms and jargon.
Yeah.
So Katia, what's the first acronym that you're going to tell or explain?
So you've got OTE, which is on target earnings, and that's normally if there's bonuses affiliated with your salary. So as long as you're hitting those targets, you'll earn what they've said in the advert.
Excellent. And
OTE, on target earnings.
On target earnings. I think it's also, within on target earnings, just to point out, there's on target earnings. So if you're not achieving those targets, that's not what you earn, and you need to have that realistic expectation around it.
And I think asking them as well what the basic salary is, so that for the first couple of months, realistically, you're probably not going to be hitting those sales benchmarks. So you need to be realistic to plan your finances to take that into account, because unless you're absolutely amazing, but if you're a young person going into your first sales job, you need to give yourself a bit of time and be realistic in terms of what you'll be earning for at least the first 6 months. You're not going to be hitting those on target earnings, not straight away in any ways, maybe after the first or second month, but you do need to give yourself a chance to get up to speed with the product and actually be able to sell it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the other one sort of linked around salary is the PA, PW, like the per annum, per week, and fortnightly. So per annum is obviously an annual salary that you're looking at, per week, weekly salary, and I think obviously fortnightly. And this is really, you really have to look at this, because different job advert sites do this differently, and you can search by a salary, but it will automatically put per annum as that salary. So you might end up losing some of those jobs that were per week ones. So I think just to be careful with that. I mean, for myself, I think you're probably better advertising jobs as a per annum.
Yeah.
Because I think it gives you a much better response on applications. But if you see a PW, that's obviously per week. And then obviously some jobs are fortnightly as well.
So FTC, so fixed term contract. So that is not a permanent job. So a fixed term contract is where you will go in for a fixed period of time. So it's a contract, and you need to be aware of that this isn't necessarily a forever job. Sometimes fixed term contract jobs lead on to permanent jobs, but it's not permanent from the off.
We've also got DOE. Makes me think of Homer Simpson. Dope. Depends on experience. So your salary would be dependent on what your experience is, and that's probably where the negotiation comes in at some points as well.
Yeah. So be prepared to go in and negotiate on your salary.
Sell your experience as well. Make sure you're fully geared up with everything that you know, so that you can really sell that when you're there.
And then pro rata. So this is one to really keep an eye on, because often salaries when they're pro rata jobs, so pro rata would be possibly something that's working part-time, but they'll often put the salary on as the full annual salary as if somebody was full-time. So you can get caught out on these. So when it says pro rata, 10,000 a year, but that's based on 40 hours and you're only doing 20, you're only going to earn 5,000. So it's just to be really sort of careful on those ones. I guess leading on from that, you've got full-time, which is FT, part-time, obviously PT. So you can see quite clearly, what the difference is between the two of them. But I think it's just, be very careful with the pro ratas because they do catch a lot of people out, and you see them quite a lot with like NHS jobs or council jobs. You often see that where they have the full salary on, and when you read, halfway down, it says it's only, part-time job, sorry. And you just need to be, careful not getting caught out on that. And then you often see as well FTE, so full-time equivalent. Those jobs, can be sometimes job shares. So it can be, 2 people equaling a full-time person. So those are probably the ones you'll see mostly around the bottom of adverts, just to clear up.
It's kind of widely agreed. It's like an unwritten rule that full-time equivalent is probably going to be 9 to 5 days a week, and if it says 0.5 FTE, that's probably 20 hours a week. So it's important that you recognize that when you're applying for jobs and looking at the job adverts.
But I think those ones there are definitely at the bottom, because I think it'll be really confusing for young people. They may not have seen that at all. That's probably not a word that you would use normally. So I think they're definitely ones that catch people out.
I also think it's worth pointing out the different, and this isn't just young people. We have this discussion, or we've had this discussion with colleagues, the difference between what is permanent and what is part-time. So some people will say it's a part-time job when actually they mean it's not permanent, it's on a fixed term contract, or it's a temporary job.
Yes.
Because you can work part-time but have a permanent contract.
Yeah, absolutely. So permanent means that the term of that job is endless. That could be whenever. That's whenever either party chooses to terminate that contract of employment. Whereas with a fixed term or a temporary contract, that's acknowledgement that job is for a specific amount of time, or is just for a short while.
Do we need to have an ending, or does it just end?
No.
And we didn't swear.
Oh no,
You said bloody once, but bloody's not really a swear word.
No, that's probably.
Thank you for joining us for this podcast, and congratulations for making it all the way to the end. We would love to hear from you, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future podcasts, you can email us at jobsharepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts, and of course, the Gram. Remember to subscribe and join us next time when we'll be talking about video interviews.
It's the best time I've had in ages, I swear to God.